Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Chairperson Dr. Shamshad, distinguished speakers, partners, and participants. Assalamu alaikum. We thank you all for joining us today, whether you're joining, if it's afternoon, evening, or morning. We thank you for being part of this event. It is a privilege to welcome you all, and we will convene today with thought leaders, regulators, and investors, and sustainability champions to advance a shared vision, one where ESG principles are not just aspirational, but operational across Pakistan's corporate and institutional landscape. So to give a little context, this conference was first introduced last year, where we explored the theme Road to Readiness, wherein we examined global expectations, local hurdles, and foundational shifts that would be required to lay the groundwork for ESG awareness and institutional readiness. We also reviewed whether corporates in Pakistan were truly prepared to take their first steps on the ESG path. So this year, we moved beyond readiness and focus on real integration, embedding ESG into decision-making and turning awareness into meaningful action. So we are here to ask, what does ESG really mean for Pakistan? How are we embedding it into our boardrooms, supply chains, and capital markets? And how do we ensure that our ESG journey is inclusive, transparent, and resilient? So in this year's conference titled Achieving Integration, we will explore 5 key dimensions. First, the regulatory framework and capital market progress. As you are aware, we've seen significant movement from the launch of green taxonomy, green banking guidelines, bonds and sukuks, to ESG disclosure guidelines and reporting requirements, with growing readiness for IFRS S1 and S2 compliance. These are not just policy shifts, these are signals of institutional commitment. Second, we turn to current ESG practices. We'll draw insights from corporate strategies, adoption trends across Pakistan, benchmarking these against national and international standards to understand where we stand and where we need to go. Third, we spotlight on climate finance, a critical enabler of ESG progress, from green bonds and sustainability-linked loans to Pakistan's green sukuk. We are beginning to align capital markets with climate-resilient growth. And this will be followed by an examination of the role of stewardship and governance in driving ESG outcomes. At the same time, we'll highlight how corporate strategies are addressing equity, inclusion, and community resilience, whether through workforce diversity, responsible supply chains, or social investment. And finally, we close with a call to action. ESG must align with our national development goals. It requires collective cross-sectorial leadership and a renewed focus on capacity building, especially around data and reporting. So I'll run you through the agenda for the 2 days. Day 1, which is today, will begin with a keynote address by our chairperson, Dr. Shamshad Akhtar, who will set the strategic tone and reaffirm our shared commitment to collaborative and sustainable governance. We'll hear updates from the Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan, State Bank, and the Pakistan Stock Exchange, followed by a focus session on ESG reporting led by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan. Participants will also gain a global perspective through a diverse panel that we have arranged on international market developments. And we will close today's event by an address by Ms. Jen Sisson, CEO of the International Corporate Governance Network. This will be followed by day 2 tomorrow at the same time, where we will spotlight ESG practices, system-level integration and implementation challenges, and discuss the business case for ESG. This will include information on what is being done on the social front, as sometimes this area does not always get its due attention. We feature 2 dynamic panel discussions and a fireside chat on ESG investing and climate finance opportunities, and we are honored to conclude the event with a keynote address by Mr. Akif Said, Chairman SACP, who will share the regulatory vision for ESG advancement in Pakistan. So before I begin, I would like to take a moment to update you all on PICG's ESG activities and progress over the past few years. As PICG's sole institute mandated to advance corporate governance best practices, PICG began its ESG journey about 5 years ago, back in the COVID days. recognizing the needs for boards and executives to adopt a broader lens of governance. Under the leadership of Dr. Shamshad and in collaboration with the Pakistan Stock Exchange, we established an ESG task force and launched a series of capacity building initiatives, including ESG stewardship workshops and a collaborative program with the IFC focused on the governance of sustainability. We also launched our ESG Tracks certification program, comprising of over 25 specialized modules designed for professionals who have been tasked with ESG implementation. This program is delivered by subject matter experts across environmental, social, and governance domains using a flexible and fully online format for maximum outreach. We also continue to build the evidence base through research, awareness surveys, and case studies. This includes supporting a regional research initiative by the Stewardship Asia on boards as stewards of sustainability in the Asia-Pacific region. The publications that I'm mentioning are available on our website in case you'd like to check them out. Most recently, we developed our own toolkit, and in partnership with CLCI Canada, we developed Focus, which is an ESG integration assessment tool to help companies formalize ESG governance structures and implement and identify implementation gaps. On the governance front, as you're all aware, PICG has been conducting board evaluations for over a decade. And recognizing the growing significance of sustainability, we introduced sustainability oversight as a parameter of board performance within our evaluations. Understandably, it is the lowest scoring category in most evaluations, but we are encouraged to see improvements this year, possibly as a result of the regulatory push, wherein amendments were made to the Code of Corporate Governance, that we are now seeing boards begin establishing dedicated ESG committees, assigning clear responsibilities, and deepening their understanding of sustainability principles. That said, sustainability oversight must be embedded through proper structured governance mechanisms. However, too often we find that it is delegated to management on an ad hoc basis. So this is an area that merits closer attention. In other words, who is being put in charge of your ESG mandate? So before I close, I just want to say that we must always keep in mind there is always room to do things better. It is important for those charged with governance to recognize the growing ESG momentum. But to harness it, we must all stay informed, engaged, and aligned. We must expand our vision to look beyond for long-term growth. And just like corporate governance, ESG is not a checklist, it is a mindset. And that mindset must be rooted in our local realities while remaining open to global standards and innovation. So let us ensure that ESG is not just a compliance exercise, but a strategic imperative for long-term value creation. Before I go, I'd like to thank our sponsors, EY Pakistan and National Clearing Company of Pakistan Limited, as well as our partners, speakers, and of course my team at PICG for making this conference possible. Let's look forward to a day of insight, inspiration, and impact. Back to you, Tala.